Mind by Thomas Cleary. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Cleary and his brother, Mr. Cleary, I think they are J.C. Cleary and Thomas Cleary. They have both recently died in the last 2 years, 3 years respectively, I guess. Anyway, this book has been with me since the beginning, well, since 1999 at least, the beginning of my exploration into Zen and meditation. And there are so many handwritten questions in here that I have meditation notes, and no, I'm not going to get into it, because at this point in time my audience wouldn't really understand how to go about answering these questions, and I couldn't go about explaining it anyway. But this book is a compilation of various Zen Masters teachings on meditation. And we're going to start with the introduction, like we always do. So what can I call this? Like let's meet Thomas Cleary? or let's meet the minds of the school? Probably that. Let's meet the mind of the school. So anyway, this is my morning voice. Good morning. Translators' introduction. Let the wise one watch over the mind, so hard to practice, so artful, alighting where it wishes. A watchfully protected mind will bring happiness, from the Dhammapada. And sages use the mind deliberately, based on its essence. With the support of the spirit, they finish what they begin. Thus, they sleep without dreams and wake without troubles. Juan Nazi, some other dude. Oh gosh, I feel so quiet today. Here we go. Conscious cultivation of consciousness has been practiced by human beings for thousands of years, giving rise to many traditional sciences of mental development, whose origins are lost in the dimness of the early dawn twilight of human awareness. Buddhist tradition is based on a breakthrough made by Siddhartha Gautama 2,500 years ago in his attempts to rediscover the essential way to moksha, liberation, and bodhi, enlightenment, lost ideals of ancient tradition. The mental science of Buddhism is extremely rich and complex. It is not simply an outgrowth, reformulation, or development of ancient Indian religion. According to Buddhist lore, there are 5 general categories of practice by which the relations and differences among orientations and methods of meditation can be distinguished. The first type is called the meditation of the ordinary mortal. The intention and purpose of this type of meditation is to enhance the ordinary perceptions and faculties of the individual. The desired result is greater efficacy and efficiency in the ordinary activities of life, leading to a sense of confidence and well-being. The second type of meditation is quite different from the first, focusing on transcending the world rather than dealing with the world in conventional terms. The desired result is quiescent nirvana, a profound peace of mind characterized by extinction of psychological afflictions. Exceptional psychic capabilities are also commonly associated with people who attain quiescent nirvana in this way. But because they habitually remain in the quiescence of individual nirvana, they do not ordinarily exercise these capacities in a concerted manner. The third type of meditation focuses on the cultivation of altered states of consciousness. Those who practice meditation for the sake of attaining nirvana may also use these altered states for the purpose of breaking attachments to conceptual and perceptual conventions. But they are thereby exposed to the danger of addiction to intoxicating trances. Buddhist teaching emphasizes sobriety to avoid being obsessed, or, as it is said, reborn under the sway of unusual states, taking care to use them for specific pragmatic purposes rather than for self-indulgence. The fourth kind of meditation is dedicated to development of extraordinary capacities in the service of other people and the world at large. Practitioners of this type of meditation may use any or all of the methods and teachings characteristic. Golly, it's still morning. Practitioners of this type of meditation may use any or all of the methods and techniques characteristic of the first three kinds of meditation, but with a different orientation, in a different manner, and in a broader context. The range and scope of meditational states and experiences in this fourth category, furthermore, exceed those of the lower types of meditation by many orders of magnitude. The fifth and highest type of meditation, according to this ancient classification, is called pure, clear meditation arriving at being as is. This is considered the most penetrating insight and the nearest that an individual consciousness can come to true objectivity. The realization of pure, clear meditation also enables its master to employ all of the other types of meditation method deliberately and freely without becoming fixated or obsessed. Minding Mind is a compendium of instruction manuals dealing primarily with ways of attaining to the mode of experience characteristic of the last named type of meditation. Pure, clear meditation, arriving at being as is. The first manual, treats on the Supreme Vehicle, is attributed to Hongren, 602 to 675. Who is known as the fifth patriarch of Chan Buddhism in China. There appears to be no historical trace of this text previous to the 16th century, and its origins are obscure. Although Hongren, like his teacher and several of his own disciples, was an illustrious Chan master of his time, little is really known, for sure, about his teaching and the activities of his school. The language of this meditation manual would also suggest that it was, in fact, written in the 16th century, although certain passages, especially the quotations, do not reflect typical 16th century Buddhist scholarship or language. And they give the impression that this text, as we know it today, is based on an older model. It may also be a product of a Korean branch of this ancient school. The method taught in this manual is basic and quintessential in theory and practice, setting the stage for the texts that follow. The second manual, Models for Sitting Meditation, was composed by Chan Buddhist Master Shijiao of Changlu in late 11th century China. Little is known of Shijiao, except that he was not only a master of the powerful Linji school of Chan Buddhism, but also a patriarch of the popular Pure Land Buddhism. The combination of Chan and Pure Land Buddhism, especially in the domain of concentration technique, is commonly found in the records of early meditation schools of China, Korea, Japan, Tibet, and Vietnam. The next manual, Guidelines for Sitting Meditation, was written by Foxin Binxiai a younger contemporary of Xiao. The instructions of Foxin and Xiao offer quite brief address problems in deterioration. I'm sorry. Both quite brief address problems of deterioration in the quality of meditation practices and prescribe simple remedies to counteract confusion and misalignment in order to foster the proper state of mind. These two texts are followed by another short manual for general audiences, called A Generally Recommended Mode of Sitting Meditation by Japanese Zen master Dogen. Dogen, from 1200 to 1253, was one of the pioneers of Zen Buddhism in Japan. Sissien? What are these words? I don't know. Of a distinguished and powerful family, Dogen was originally trained as a Confucian and groomed for ministerial service in the imperial government. He also began to study Buddhism at an early age. However, and ran away from home to become a Buddhist monk on the eve of his debut at court. Dogen was an intellectually brilliant individual and mastered the theories of the esoteric and wow, I can't read today. Exoteric and esoteric branches of the old Tendai school of Japanese Buddhism in comparatively short time. Even before his Tendai studies were over, Dogen began to look into Zen, newly imported from continental China. Eventually, he came to concentrate on Zen. What I hear today. And even though he was locally recognized as a master at an early age, Dogen decided to cross over to China to study Chan, the precursor of Zen, as it was then being practiced on the continent. After 5 years in China, Dogen returned to Japan with a more complete understanding of Zen than he had been able to acquire earlier. He spent nearly 10 more years observing the situation in Japan before beginning to teach. One of the main concerns of Dogen's teaching activity was to alert people to the shortcomings and dangers of incomplete Zen meditation and partial Zen experience. This manual, one of Dogen's first written books, reflects this concern and outlines an approach to its resolution. The next manual presented here, Secrets of Cultivating the Mind, was composed by Chan 1158 through 1210, founder of the Chogai order of Korean Buddhism. Ordained as a monk at the age of 8, Chan had no teacher. His first awakening occurred as he read a Chan Buddhist classic when he was 25 years old. After that, Chan went into seclusion in the mountains. Later on, he pursued the whole Buddhist canon, then went back into solitude in a mountain fastness. Okay. During this period, Chan experienced another awakening while reading the letters of one of the great Chinese masters. Oh, I hope it was Tahoe. Eventually, Chan began to instruct others, establishing a number of teaching centers. He attracted the attention of the Buddhist king Koro, Korea, and was honored with the title National Teacher after his passing. Based on classical teachings, Chanil's Secrets of Cultivating the Mind is a highly accessible primer of basic Buddhist meditation, defining and contrasting the principles and methods of sudden and gradual enlightenment. The next manual, translated here, Absorption in the Treasury of Light, was written by Japanese Zen master Ijyo, 1198 to 1282. Born into an ancient noble family, Ijo became a Buddhist monk at the age of 18. After studying Tendai Buddhism, Ijo concentrated on Pure Land Buddhism, then turned to Zen. Eventually he became an apprentice of Zen Master Dogen, who soon appointed Ijo his teaching assistant and spiritual successor. Most of Ijo's later life was dedicated to perpetuating the works of his teacher Dogen, whom he survived by 30 years. The unusual absorption in the treasury of light is Ijo's own composition, reflecting Ijo's background in the esoteric branch of the Tendai Buddhism as well as his classical Zen studies. This work shows how to focus on the so-called Dharmakaya, or reality body teaching of Buddhism, underlying a wide variety of symbolic expressions. This type of meditation, using scriptural extracts, poetry, and Zen koans, or teaching stories, to register a specific level of consciousness, is called Sanzen. There is a great deal of Zen literature deriving from centuries of Sanzen, among which Ijo's absorption in the treasury of light represents a very unusual blend of complexity and simplicity, depth and accessibility. The last meditation manual, an elementary talk on Zen, is attributed to Manan, an old adept of Soto Zen old adept of a Soto school of Zen, who is believed to have lived in the early 17th century. Soto schools of Zen in that time traced their spiritual lineage back to Dogen and Ijo, but their doctrines and methods were not quite the same as the ancient masters, reflecting later accreditations from other schools. Manyan's work is very accessible and extremely interesting for the range of its content. In particular, it reflects a modern trend toward the emphasis on meditation in action, which can be seen in China, particularly from the 11th century, in Korea from the 12th century, and in Japan from the 14th century. A few years ago, the central authority of the Roman Catholic Church issued a statement about meditation, warning that altered mental and physical states could be mistaken by the unwary for authentic spiritual experiences. Although this statement provoked a negative reaction from certain meditation groups, the fact is that the same warning is traditionally found in authentic Buddhism. The fact that many Westerners have been left confused and even mentally and physically injured by supposed Eastern meditational methods is not because they are not good Catholics, but because they fail to observe all the requirements of traditional meditational science. The psychopathology of meditative malpractice is well known and thoroughly described in Buddhist literature, but certain cults regularly plunge people into intense meditation without sufficient background knowledge, understanding, and experience. Sometimes this is not done out of sheer ignorance, but as a calculated recruitment tool, because people become extremely vulnerable to fixation and conditioning under these circumstances. It was for this reason that the Tibetan Gelugpa, or virtuous school, whose head is the Dalai Lama, reformed the practice of meditation to prevent such abuses. Wow, times are different. In that school, the practitioner is expected to become thoroughly familiar with the science of meditation before plunging into intense concentration. The Chan Buddhist Master Lu Yiming similarly encouraged people to study for 10 years before starting intensive meditation. The early modern Japanese Master Koshin prescribed a course of study requiring about 3 years before he allowed students to participate in concentrated Zen work with the teacher. Preparatory study is also useful for recognition and cultivation of teachers, and evaluation of teachers. an issue of serious concern to Westerners. If you go to a real teacher unprepared, you will be wasting the teacher's time and unconsciously demonstrating your own greed and laziness as well. If you go to a false teacher unprepared, you will be wasting your own time and putting yourself and your dependents in danger besides. Hence the classical Chan saying, "First awaken on your own, then see somebody else." That is the purpose for which the instruction manuals presented in this book were originally composed and published. So I hope that you will join us on the journey to learning good meditation techniques and saving our brains from insanity, or embracing it.